Hey everyone and welcome back. And no, this is not a player bio on Ballo-Touré because I would be lying to myself if I actually knew anything about him or even through a scouting report or a YouTube compilation. It doesn't really give me an insight to the player, and I feel like it just wouldn't do this channel or the player justice doing an analysis on a player I barely know anything about. I do think it's a low risk deal for a backup position into the team. I do wish him all the best with the squad. I do feel like he has some sort of value for us next season, especially as the backup left back position. His profile does obviously look like it's the mould of the player we want at that position. He's very good at accelerating from the videos that I've seen. But we're not here today to talk about him. We're not here to talk also about Brahim Diaz, who's just signed for the club. I'm doing something a little bit different. And before people smash this in the comment section, I know it's going to contradict exactly the video I did a couple of weeks back talking about Pobega and the youth team players and if we should sell them. It's something that came to mind, and just obviously looking at the player transfers we've done over the recent years and the players leaving the club. Have we got enough Italians? And I say this in the nicest way possible because I don't want to make it sound like I'm fascist or anything like that. Has Milan got enough Italians at the club? And this is something that's very important because obviously it's not just how it appears for fans and how it appears for management and players who are from Milan that want to play for the senior squad. It also affects how we stand with UEFA, and obviously there are rules and implications when it comes to fielding squads for the Champions League. So before I really get into how I feel about this, I want to take us back, all the way back to December 2016, when we played Juventus in the Italian Super Cup in Doha, I believe it was out there. And we fielded a side with 8 Italian players on the pitch. This side involved players like Bonaventura, Romagnoli, Di Sciglio, Bertolacci, Locatelli, even like Gabriel Paletta, Ignacio Abate. 8 players were in the starting 11 and 2 players came off the bench, and that was Lapadula and Antonelli. If we can compare that to the last game of the season, we played Atalanta away from home and obviously got that terrific 2-0 victory away there. There are only two Italians in that starting 11, and that was Davide Calabria and once again Gigio Donnarumma. Not to say that I'm sort of like ashamed that it's gotten to the point where we've gone from one to another, because obviously if you compare the squads and the team and the achievements of both sides, it's unparalleled. You can't compare the two. Obviously winning a Super Cup as the underdogs against Juventus was phenomenal, but we were overachieving in that. Obviously the rest of the season just qualifying for the Europa League. When you compare it to this season where we've had a fantastic end to it, massive amount of points, breaking away records, all these sort of things, and even qualifying for the Champions League is obviously the thing at the end of that. So you can't really compare whether it's better to have one or the other. But when you look back at that and you think obviously that we fielded so many Italians as compared to what we have now, it just gets you wondering that is there an issue in that Maldini should be looking at potentially getting more Italians signed in for the club, the senior side, or even advancing them from La Primavera. So let's look at our current squad, and really we have to be really sort of like fair with this. Who are really stars in this side? And there's only really one, and it's Davide Calabria. Gigio's now gone to PSG, and there's obviously rotational pieces in play, and that's Mattia Gabbia. Romagnoli has lost his starting spot to Fikayo Tomori, and Sandro Tonali has just been signed out right now. Fantastic, but he's still a rotation piece. He's not a starter. But you would include the 4 of them as, full first team squad players. Other than that, really, you have to think questionable futures for the other Italians who have seen some sort of senior squad minutes and what's going to happen to them. And those players are Daniele Maldini, Pobega, Colombo. Obviously, Andrea Conti's come back from his loan spell. Mattia Caldara, Pizzari is going to be the third keeper. The future is a sort of question mark for all those players, and really, obviously, some are going to have to stay because we have to fulfill these squad requirements that UEFA want for homegrown players, and it's really sort of begging to question, like, should we be doing something about this? And I don't think you should just force a player into the first squad if they don't really have a place there. So do these foreign players for Milan know what it's like to play for the shirt? I mean, of course they do. I mean, I can't just sit here and say that only Italians know how to play for Milan and know the value of it. Obviously, we've seen players of the past like Maldini, like Baresi, Costa Curta, Albertini, who come from the youth ranks, and obviously they've shown the clear value of Milan. They know what it's like to play for the red and black stripes. It doesn't just quantify for Italians. And obviously, we've seen a lot of foreigners in our times come to the squads, like Shevchenko. I've seen it when I was growing up. Shevchenko, Kaká, Seedorf, players who clearly knew what it meant to play for a club like AC Milan. And I do feel like we're seeing it these days. People respect the shirt, especially with figures like Zlatan Ibrahimovic back at the squad. They're really reining it home that you got to know what it means to play for such a prestigious club like AC Milan. And I do feel like there are loads of players who deserve to be at the current Milan squad as it stands. And I don't want it to be sort of like a foreign versus Italian sort of thing, because that's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm just trying to sort of highlight a thing that's just lingering on that, are we kind of going away from signing Italians, and why that might be the case. One of the reasons I think it might be the case is because, our Italian players just overvalued. Obviously, we've just come off the bat of it's Italy winning the Euro 2020 or 2021, whatever you want to call it. Fantastic achievement. Not a single Milan player was in that squad in the final. You can't count Donnarumma because at the time of the final, he was a free agent. So we had no players in that squad. You could argue that Calabria should have been there if he was fit. Yes, that might be the case. But coming from, especially me growing up, seeing lots of Milan players in that starting squad or the starting 11 for Italy, it's kind of just, it hits home really that we're not kind of going down that route. And yeah, like I said, is the value of these players, are they overvalued? You can go for a player like Berardi, or you can go for a player like Chiesa, and you're having to invest around 50 million euros or 40 million euros just to get him from clubs like Fiorentina or Sassuolo, who haven't played in the Champions League. Barely played in, competitions like Europa League. So it's sort of a massive risk to go for these players. Of course, they know the league, but, are we sort of getting priced out of that? That's why we're looking to buy more players from the French leagues, the German leagues, even like players from Belgium, like Alexis Salamakers. And even now, you see it, there's a massive sort of French contingent that's arrived at Milan. A lot of players who can speak French, who have played in the French league, and gets you sort of thinking, are we sort of this La Résistance? I don't know, that's awful French, by the way. But are we sort of getting more towards that foreign feel? Maybe that's the case, but I do feel like mainly it comes down to the fact that the value of Italian players are so overpriced. And I feel like Maldini's shying away from that unless he can sort of pick himself up a bargain. So why is this so important for UEFA? Well, if you know anything about the squads and how UEFA handles things, they imply this sort of 17 plus 8 rule. 17 foreigners, and you can have 8. You have to have 8 homegrown players. And when I say homegrown, it doesn't actually mean from your youth team. It doesn't mean from your Primavera. It could be from any other Italian side's youth team, but they have to play at least 3 years in their sort of youth ranks up to the age of 21. Based off my maths, I've worked out that Kessie can be included in that because he joined Atalanta, went on loan to Cesena, did a year at Atalanta, and then a year at Milan before the age of 21. So I'm hoping he can be included, but you might have to correct me on that one. We obviously have players like Davide Calabria, Alessio Romagnoli, Pizzari as the third keeper, Mattia Gabbia, Sandro Tonali. They've all played for other teams, youth ranks, or not Calabria and Gabbia in this case, but we can still include them in that 8. My issue isn't so much for this year. My issue is for future years, and also looking at how we've been handling our transfer activity. Maldini's been spot on with his transfers, and I'm the first one to defend him, saying that he gets pretty much 90% of them right. I just feel like he, in the back of his mind, will have to start considering getting in some Italian players into the side. That's why we've been linked with players like Domenico Berardi. And in the instance, let's say we let go of a player like Andrea Conti, which everyone's screaming about, or Mattia Caldara, you don't really have futures at this team. And we want to sort of fill the squad with players who can have an impact in competitions like the Champions League. There's no point us fielding those 8 players and then having to call up players like Colombo or Daniele Maldini when they're not really going to be called upon in the competition. Is Maldini going to start considering signing players domestically from Italy who are obviously Italian? So yeah, Domenico Berardi for the right winger spot. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for someone like him because he has to fill that void. And really just summarising this all, it's not... I didn't want to make this video to be sort of say like, I want loads of Italians to come into the side. It would be nice. As someone who supported Italy in Euros, it was just one of those things I didn't find myself fully invested into the side because there was just no Milan players for me to look upon. Of course, I was supporting them, but it was just like, I just wish that there was some there. And when you compare it to the squad that won the 2006 World Cup, Gattuso was there, Pirlo was there, Nesta was there. it's just Inzaghi was there. It just gets you thinking like, oh, I wish we just had a few more internationals into the side, and that's really kind of come down to recruitment. But I also understand that there is sort of an overpriced tag for Italians in Serie A. It's just really for Maldini to work out, and I feel like it's something he's going to have to consider in not just this transfer window, the future transfer windows, depending on player sales and who may depart. You've got to think as well, Romagnoli's only still got 1 year left in his contract, and if he moves on, that's a spot that we have to replace as well. Anyway, guys, yeah, it's just it's something that's come to mind because I didn't really want to do a player bio on players I didn't quite know about. We all kind of know about Brahim Diaz as well. I feel like, yeah, he's due a player bio as well, but maybe in time. But it's just something that just came to mind, and I thought it'd be quite a nice, interesting topic as well, guys. I want to say thank you for your comments about my sort of little blinds in the background. One of the comments said, do I own any away tops? And yes, I own loads of away tops. That's why I put one up here today. It's just a lot of them don't really fit me anymore. I used to be a double XL or an XL back in my past. I've got loads of Milan tops. It might be worth a video as well one day, just to go through my plethora of Milan tops. I think I've got between 20 and 30 Milan tops, let alone merchandise of training tops and hoodies and all these sort of things. So maybe one day I might do a little video going through tops. I think I've got them all the way back to 2003 or 2002. So maybe one day. But in the meantime, guys, Forza Milan.